Hello, I'm Nina,
I'm Vanessa.
and this tutorial is Simplify Your Writing.
What was it all about a kiss? Was that Brad? Was that Brad?
Oh, you mean Bradley. Actually, Vanessa, it's not that kind of a kiss. It's K-I-S-S, as in keep it simple, silly. Anyway, this tutorial is going to talk about uncluttering your writing, and it's part of a book that I've written a long time ago called The Fiction Writer Get Published Right Now. Let's get started.
Simplify your writing. Heighten pace, tension, and interest in your story by removing clutter and writing purposefully. One of the best ways to have less clutter in your writing is to simplify it. This doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be a Spartan and write sparingly like Hemingway. You can use rich language like Jacqueline Carey and apply the language with purpose. While Jacqueline Carey's Cushel's Dart contains rich narrative description, the language is appropriate for the time period and always portrays motion. Fluid writing lies at the basis of uncluttered prose. The 7 suggestions below will help.
Okay, let's start off with number 1, reduce extraneous words. When constructing a scene, it's wise to pay attention to cadence, rhythm, number of phrases or clauses, and general length of sentences. Sentences in early works tend to be full of extra words, like ing verbs, add-ons like he started to think instead of simply he thought. These slow down the narrative. So try reading your sentences out loud. This practice often helps you to find the clutter. Point number 2. Use active and powerful verbs. Active verbs are the key to vivid writing and, ironically, to uncluttered prose. The very choice of active verbs helps you to minimize the use of clutter words. Consider these 2 paragraphs which describe the same scene. I'm going to start with a couple of sentences here and compare them. Here's the first sentence. Joe walked slowly into the room. Okay, he walked. How did he walk? Slowly, right? So you had to add that extra word. Let's see what I did with it. Joe sidled into the room. Sidled gives you an impression of how he walked. Gives attitude even. So we don't need the word slowly. A little bit more active. Here's the second sentence. The naked couple. Oh, there's Brad for you. Yay, Brad. Anyway, the naked couple were in the bed, almost buried under the rumpled covers. They were now struggling to get up. You see the were words? Were struggling, were in the bed. That's very passive, and it's quite a weak verb. So it begs to be basically supported by adjectives and adverbs. Let's see what we did with it. The naked couple struggled out from the rumple of clothes and blankets. So what I did was I activated the word struggle, and I just left everything to that. So it's much cleaner and much more clear and powerful. Here's the third sentence. Joe saw the big man sit up and stare at him angrily. Okay, Joe saw. That's pretty, weak. The big man sit up. Sit up is very weak too. How did he sit up? What is that attitude there? And stare at him angrily. While staring, I needed to put in the word angry to show how he stared. Let's see how he fixed it. The man reared up and glared at Joe. Okay, so now he glared at Joe. So we remove the need to say stare angrily. We've got one word that really cleanly says how he looked at him. The man reared up. So I've gotten rid of Joe saw the big man. Reared up itself, a powerful verb can give you so much more about everything else. So we don't need Joe saw him. That's implied in that. He reared up tells us a little bit more about the man, so we don't need to say the big man. We already have a sense of how big he is. So what we've done is we've reduced one paragraph for, I think it was 68 words in the first section to 41 words fixed up. So there you go.
Cut down your words in your paragraphs. cut down your words by at least 20%. Be merciless. You won't miss them. You will add others later in your second round of edits. Find the most effective way to say what you mean. Number 4, reduce redundancy. The introductory sentence of a narrative paragraph is often paraphrased unnecessarily in the very next sentence, as though the writer didn't trust the reader to get it the first time. Say it once and say it right the first time.
Okay, number 5 is embrace Anglo-Saxon over Latinate terms. And what we're going to do is show you a couple of examples here of Latinate versus Anglo-Saxon.
Assassinate
Versus kill.
Emotion
Versus feeling.
Diminutive
Versus small.
Consternation
Versus fear
Juvenile
instead of young.
Originate
Instead of small or begin.
Masticate
And chew.
Prevaricate
And lie.
Perspire
And sweat.
Emancipate
And free. Latinate words slow down narrative, and you can see that with the large words versus the short punchy words on the other side. They often arise from supercilious luciferous logolepsy. If overused, such effulgent emanations can render your promulgations cumbersome and will likely exacerbate acataleptic obfuscation and promote embulalia.
The simpler Anglo-Saxon term is often more visceral in both meaning and sound. Consider the first example, kill, evokes a much more powerful and immediate response than assassinate. And how those F words for sexual intercourse, fornication has become a whole other nuance than its Anglo-Saxon four-letter cousin. I'm not advising that you avoid Latinisms altogether. Latinate words, when used judiciously and sparingly, provide cadence, lyricism, and points of interest in narrative. If you use them sparingly and purposely, they provide color and texture to your narrative landscape. The key, as always, is achieving a balance.
I once suffered from luciferous logolepsy and profusely overused Latinate syllogisms, particularly in my line of work as a scientist. Can you tell? When I saw the light, though, not only did my fiction benefit, but my consulting reports and technical papers were more joyfully read by my clients.
Number 6. Balancing show and tell. Let the characters and scenes speak for themselves through the action and dialogue, rather than using narration to explain what happened. Embracing this way of writing may be a single most effective way to reduce clutter and enhance the vividness of your writing at the same time, while showing may in fact add more words than simple telling. In that way it is read mostly in the form of action. Make up for the added words. Telling also has its place in narrative. For instance, when you wish to let the reader know about an event or action that do not want to describe a vivid detail. Simply and succinct, telling words effectively as transitional narrative, serving as a bridge for critical showing scenes.
Number 7, don't overload metaphors.
Some novice writers fall into the trap of using metaphor overload. Some call it purple prose. Overuse of metaphor diverts the reader from the story with clever turn of phrase and distract them from the most important words in the writer's arsenal of verbs. Here is an example. Example 1. John strode into the aft deck and caught Arian and Chris embracing. He stopped, heart slamming. If you eliminate the simile, here is what you get.
Okay, we had it the wrong way. John strode into the aft deck and caught Aaron and Grace embracing. He stopped, heart slamming like the percussion of a demon frag cannon on his wounded soul. That was the original, and that had a simile at the bottom. Now we take it the other way. John strode into the aft deck and caught Aaron and Grace embracing. He stopped, heart slamming. In the second example, removal of the simile activated the verb and focused the reader's attention on John's visceral reaction. Which version's more powerful? If the verb is powerful enough, you don't need to pad it with a metaphor. So the verb slamming in this case already provides what the metaphor suggests, making it redundant. And there you go. Those are your 7 points. Thanks for coming. And please come back to my website, and there you'll get news about my fiction books and articles, online writing courses, ongoing masterclass every Wednesday afternoon, and my coaching editing services from there. I also have some those 2 educational DVDs for sale that you can look at. The Fiction Writer Get Published Right Now is available on Amazon.com. Come and see me. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.